Why did a simple mistake turn into a public reckoning where a man I mocked regained his dignity? How did my friend's laughter become evidence and my sister's texts become receipts? What happens when a husband stops arguing and starts documenting? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. Martin woke before me the morning after the launch party. I walked into the kitchen like nothing was wrong. I told myself I was calm. I am still sure I was right. The night had been noisy, bright, and full of drinks. Adrian, my ex, worked the bar. He offered his spare bed when rides were scarce. I said yes because it was late and safe. I kept my shoes on. That is my proof. Martin asked where I slept. I said at Adrian's place, on top of the covers, and nothing happened. He asked why I did not call. I said my phone died and the street was dangerous. He asked why my story on social showed a timestamp at 2:41 a.m. I said timestamps are tricky. He asked who filmed me leaning on Adrian. I said friends always exaggerate. I manage events. I know optics matter, but home is not a client. I said he should trust me. He said trust needs facts. He put 2 mugs on different counters and went quiet. I told myself space would cool him. I believed laughter erased shadows. I did not see how silence gathers things. It still does, now. I woke late and walked into the kitchen like nothing was wrong. I said the party had run long, and taxis were impossible. I said Adrian, my ex, offered his spare bed because it was safer than waiting on the street. I added that I kept my shoes on and slept on top of the covers. I told myself this made it clean. Martin asked where my charger was. I said my phone died. He asked why there was a story with lights at 2:41 a.m. I said timestamps were weird. He asked if Adrian touched me. I said people always imagine too much. I spoke in a soft voice to look reasonable. He poured coffee and placed his mug on the far end of the counter. He set mine near the door, away from him. He did not raise his voice. He said facts matter if I want trust. I said love means trusting first. He asked why I did not call from a friend's phone. I said I did not want to wake him. I said he always gets dramatic. I said he wants control. I said everyone would think my decision was practical. I kept repeating that I was careful. He said, careful people give notice. He said it slowly, like a log placed on a fire. He checked his phone, and a small calendar box flashed near the top. I saw the words for a second, downtown 2:10 p.m. He turned the screen face down. He said he would work at the co-working space later. He said he needed quiet. I told him the mattress at Adrian's place was not the point. I said I was too drunk to sort options. He asked why I drank that much. I said it was a launch, and clients expected energy. I said everyone drank. I laughed and said even the bartender had shots. He asked if the bartender was Adrian. I said yes and told him to stop fishing. I walked to the bedroom to change and heard a faint click. He was by the small desk. He slid a drawer shut and turned the key. He said he was tidying. I asked since when he locked drawers in our home. He said it was for cables and a passport. I rolled my eyes and said paranoia was not attractive. He said calm helps clarity. I said my sister texted me laughing emojis and said the whole thing was harmless. He said my sister was not to judge. I said a jury of friends had spoken. He said friends are not evidence. I showered and felt brave again. I told myself I needed to own the message. I planned lines for later. It was late, it was safe, it was sleep. I repeated the word sleep in my head until it lost shape. When I came out, I showed him Nora's latest message. She wrote that I was a legend for handling the night like a pro. I waved the phone like a medal. He looked tired. He said I was building a story to make myself right. I said he was building a story to make me wrong. I said it was simple. I did not cheat. He picked up a folded blanket and placed it on the couch. He said he did not sleep well. I said he was creating drama for attention. He said he wanted peace and notes, so we do not get confused. I asked what notes. He said he writes things down when the house feels loud. I laughed and said good luck taking minutes of my life. He did not answer. He walked to the bedroom and closed the door. As the door started to swing, his phone lit on the dresser. A text preview blinked from a thread called follow-up. I saw a few words, then the preview vanished. The door clicked shut. The room felt smaller. That night I met friends on a rooftop bar to fix the story. I said the city failed us with surge pricing, so a spare bed was logistics, not romance. Cassidy said I should turn it into a joke. Nora filmed me from a low angle as the skyline glowed. I held a plastic cup and leaned back on a lounge chair. Adrian walked by with a tray for another group and tapped my shoulder. I told him I got home fine. He nodded and moved on. I said to my friends that it was proof he and I were normal. Someone laughed. Someone said I looked cozy in the clip from the after party. I said, perspective lies. The next morning, my manager Ria sent a short message asking for a quick word. She said a client had seen the carousel. She said personal choices can spill into brand image. I said this was misogyny in a calm tone. She said it was optics. I said nothing bad happened. She said I should control what I post. I said my sister posted it, not me. She asked if I could ask my sister to take it down. I said my sister is an adult. She said the client is also an adult, and adults change vendors. I felt heat crawl up my neck. I said I would talk to Nora, but I did not mean it. At lunch, I went home to check on Martin, ready to push back at his silence. He sat at the table with headphones on. On his laptop, I saw a sheet with initials and dates. It looked tidy, like a list of deliveries. I said he was making a weird budget. He tapped a key and the window minimized. A small pop-up slid in the corner, saying file uploaded successfully. It faded away fast. I said he was making this into a spreadsheet wall. He said records help when stories keep changing. I said amazing. He had turned our marriage into cells. He said calm is better than shouting. I said calm is another word for passive. I pretended to tidy the bookshelf and found a slim binder labeled Utilities. It was thicker than bills should be. I said we do not need a binder for light bulbs. He said it holds old logins and meter photos, nothing more. I asked why it was so full. He said long months add up. I said long months do not add up to last night. He did not answer. He looked at the wall clock, then at his phone, and then at me. I said he should trust me. He said, trust is a choice and a practice. I said, fine, practice it then. Ria followed up with a calendar invite and copied HR. She asked if I could recap the events after the launch. She said the client had concerns about boundaries with talent. I wrote back that Adrian was not a client. She wrote that audience cannot tell the difference when posts are public. I sent a smiling reply with a line about big nights and little sleep. She said we would speak at 3, short and private. I said great. I did not tell her I planned to charm, not explain. That evening, Cassidy insisted we meet at the club's smoking patio to unwind. I said I needed a win. Music thumped through the door. We stood under a heat lamp while she scrolled through my tagged clips. She said I should caption the bed thing as travel safety. I said yes, but funnier. I told the small circle that our mattress at home is old, and Adrian's bed felt like a hotel. People laughed. Someone raised their phone and said a toast was due. I held up a bottle of water and said safe beds save lives. I heard myself and decided it was clever. I told myself I was controlling the narrative. A man I did not know asked where my husband was. I said he was at home, working. I said he is sweet but very cautious. I smirked the word cautious like it was a flaw. The man nodded without smiling. I felt a small crack in my confidence and sealed it fast. I said Martin always wants dates and screenshots and exact times. I said he was building a case in his head and that this was not a court. People laughed again, but softer. I thought laughter meant victory. I did not notice 2 faces go still. When I got home late, the hall smelled faintly of printer toner. The office door stood open. A blank page sat on the tray, like a tongue. Next to Martin's keys was a sticky note that read, "Bring forms." I asked what forms. No one answered. He was out, or in the shower, or simply quiet. His keyring had a new, unfamiliar key. I touched it like it could explain itself, then set it down. In the morning, my phone flashed with a tag from Nora. She had posted a carousel of my rooftop jokes. She said I was a mood. The first comment asked if I was still married. I wrote that people should calm down. Ria messaged me again and asked if we could talk earlier. She said it would be quick. She added that she had looped in HR to support me with public boundaries. I said I had everything under control. She said she was glad and would call in 10 minutes. I put on lipstick and a bright jacket like armor. I sat at my desk and saw Martin's laptop open to the desktop. 2 folders were side by side, labeled Archive A and Archive B. A photo viewer sat half hidden, showing the edge of a picture with my name in tiny letters under it. It looked like a close-up of a document, but I could not prove it. I called out to him that we should talk like adults. He said later, after work. I said this was work. He did not agree. He picked up a simple black notebook, slipped it into his bag, and left without hurry. I walked to the office, feeling like a star who had to sign autographs. I planned lines for Ria. I planned humor for the client. I told myself the worst that could happen was a warning. When I stepped from the elevator, Ria was waiting by the glass wall. She gave a small smile that was not warm. She said we should grab a quick room. She said HR would join. She asked if I was ready to recap the night for clarity. My mouth formed a yes, but my stomach tilted. Uncle Grant's birthday dinner filled 2 long tables at the family restaurant. The room smelled like garlic and warm bread. I decided to fix the story with charm. I told myself family loves a tidy version. I arrived late on purpose, so the room would look at me first. Martin sat near the end, close to Diana. He gave me a small nod that looked polite, not warm. I took a seat across from cousins who already had their phones out. Nora leaned in and asked if I was okay. I said I was great and that people online were bored. She smiled, but her eyes checked Martin. Plates landed and glasses clinked. I started light. I told the cousins the launch party had gone big and silly, and that I solved a simple ride problem like a grown-up. I used the word logistics again because it sounds clean. Someone asked if Adrian was still cute. I said he was the same as ever, just helpful. Another cousin asked if Martin minded. I said Martin was careful about details and liked to take notes on life. Laughter rolled down the table. I glanced at Martin to show I could carry a room. A friend of the family proposed a toast. He lifted a glass and asked for the story from the famous rooftop. A small chorus chanted for the toast. I felt the energy push me forward. I said the truth was simple. Our mattress at home is tired, and Adrian's bed felt like a hotel. I said sometimes a girl needs a good surface to sleep after a hard shift. There was a beat of shocked silence, then messy laughter, the kind that makes people look around to confirm it is allowed. Phones rose like flowers. I saw one camera light up. Martin set his fork down and asked if I was finished, very quietly. I said we were only joking and that grown people understand context. He looked at his plate and reached for water. Diana touched his elbow and asked me, in a gentle tone, if I could stop leaning on shock for attention. I said older people are often strict about optics. The table cooled. Uncle Grant asked for calm so dinner could stay nice. I smiled and agreed, then added a line about how the internet invents drama when beds are involved. 2 guests exchanged looks. After cake, Cassidy pulled me to the smoking patio behind the club down the block, where a few guests drifted. I wanted to reclaim the momentum. The heat lamps buzzed, and I repeated my bed joke like it was a punchline I owned. Cassidy laughed too hard. Someone nearby raised a phone. I leaned against the rail and said nothing happened, and anyone who says otherwise wants scandal. In the corner of my eye, I saw a man I recognized from Martin's office. Later, I learned it was Jasper. He watched me and then turned away. The next day, I stopped at the supermarket for flowers to bring home, as if flowers could end a topic. In checkout, the cashier said she loved bold women. I said thank you and tried to sound breezy. A neighbor behind me stared at my basket, then at my face, then at her phone. I saw a reflection of my rooftop line in her screen and felt my neck heat. I told myself strangers crave gossip, then told myself I was winning because people knew my name. I stood straighter and paid. On the walk home, the world felt nosy. Inside the apartment, I smelled printer toner again. The office door was half open. A single blank page rested on the output tray. On the console table sat a small sticky note with the words, "Bring forms." I called out to ask what forms. Silence answered. I noticed a new, unfamiliar key on Martin's ring. It had a rubber cover, dark blue. I touched it and felt silly, like it might unlock a better version of us. I set it down and told myself he was finally organizing his life like I had always wanted. On Saturday, we met Diana and Theo at the park. The sky was clean and hard blue, playground metal flashing like coins. I decided to prove I was still the fun aunt. I pushed Theo on the swing and told him I had new stickers for his robot journal. He smiled, then glanced at the empty bench. He asked where Uncle Martin was sitting. I said Martin was walking to get air. Across the grass, Martin paced with his phone to his ear, the screen dark, like the call was muted. He spoke in a low voice I could not catch. He walked the perimeter, like he was measuring the field. Diana arrived with a paper bag of cut oranges. She greeted Theo first and gave me a careful hello. I commented on the weather and said families always talk too much when they are bored. She said families care. I said caring sometimes becomes control. She said peace needs truth. I said truth is that nothing happened. She looked at the ground and said, children only ask questions when the house changes. I asked her not to plant ideas. She said she would not take sides. I heard judgment inside the calm. Theo tugged my sleeve and asked why Uncle Martin sleeps on the couch now. The words hit the air like a dropped plate. I said adults sometimes nap separately because of back pain. He nodded as if he understood more than he wanted. The swing slowed. He asked if I had slept in a different bed because our bed hurt my back. I said yes, and that safety matters in the city. Diana watched me and said in a low tone that confusing kids is not kind. I told her not to accuse me of harm. She said she did not. She said silence can be harm too. Martin returned to the bench and asked if we were ready to walk Theo to the car. His phone showed private where a name would be. He placed it face down. I asked about the call. He said he was scheduling a meeting. I asked about what. He said personal. I said personal should be between us. He said personal also needs order. I told him order is not love. He said love is not chaos. He offered Theo a hand, and Theo took it. We stopped at the pharmacy on the way home because I wanted cotton pads. In the queue, a neighbor from our building joined behind me. She asked how I was holding up. I said I was fine and that the internet always chills. She said she hoped the week calmed. I thanked her and faced forward. The store radio droned. When I turned, she was already looking at her phone. The screen showed my smoking patio joke captioned by someone I did not know. My smile tightened until it ached. We reached our floor and stood in the stairwell because I said I wanted to talk before we went inside. I planned to offer a small apology and then pivot to blame. I told Martin I was sorry his feelings were hurt, but that I had acted safely. I said he was making a simple night into a trial. He said labels do not erase actions. I said everyone knows bed sharing can be neutral. He said our relationship is not a panel discussion. I said I wanted him to stop punishing me with distance. He said he was not punishing me. He said he was learning. When I put my key into the lock, I heard a low mechanical hum from inside. It sounded like a shredder. The sound stopped as the door opened. On the console, the mail pile sat flipped, faces down like cards folded in a game. On the shelf near the router lay a single USB stick with today's date on a small label. I asked what the shredder was for. He said cleaning. I asked why the date mattered. He said order helps later. I said later for what? He did not answer. I went to the bedroom to breathe and found the bed smooth, the pillows aligned like soldiers. The order made me angry. I told myself he was making a theatre set to make me look messy. I grabbed my phone and opened Nora's chat. I typed that Martin was acting like a clerk. She typed that I should stop posting and start listening. I asked if she was taking his side. She wrote that she was not taking sides and then stopped. At dinner, the apartment felt like a waiting room. We ate silently. I tried to break the quiet by describing a new client. Martin nodded once. He took his plate to the sink and washed it right away, methodical and precise. I said he should talk to me if he had thoughts. He said he would talk when he had all the facts straight. I said that was cold. He said clarity is warm in the long run. I said he was rehearsing for court. He said we were a home, not a courtroom. And then he added that order still matters. Later, I checked his laptop because it was open on the desk. Browser tabs sat in a line. Storage options, delivery tracking, notary near me. A message thread titled Follow-up perched in the corner. A small notification blinked and vanished. The room felt thinner. I closed the laptop and told myself he was acting out. I told myself I would not be intimidated by folders and tabs. I returned to the hallway and heard the shredder hum again, just once, that quick chew and stop. It made the hairs on my neck rise. I told myself he was shredding junk mail. I told myself organizing is a good sign because it means he cares about the house. I decided to shower and plan a fresh speech for morning. My plan was to insist on trust and call him back to romance with a soft voice and a steady hand. I went to the co-working lounge at noon and chose a table near the glass wall. I wanted people around. Witnesses make stories safe. Martin sat 2 seats away with headphones on, eyes steady on his screen. I started with a bright voice and said our marriage was fine and that people online were bored. I said nothing bad happened that night. He did not look up. He typed slow and neat. I raised my volume and said we should stop pretending this is a big deal. A man across the aisle glanced at us and then back at his laptop. I told myself the room supported me. Martin took off one ear cup and said he wanted calm. He said public scenes did not help. I said I had to defend myself because everyone was twisting my words. He said no one here was asking questions. I said then he should answer mine. I asked if he planned to keep sleeping on the couch like a martyr. He said he was resting where he could think. I said the couch was an accusation. He said it was a boundary. I smiled like he was the one being dramatic. On his screen, I saw a tidy desktop tree, Archive A and Archive B. A small photo viewer peeked out under a window, showing the corner of a document with a date in the margin. He moved the mouse and the window snapped closed like blinds. For a second, a calendar alert rose and faded. Meeting, personal. Another flicker said paper drop 11:35 a.m. My heart thumped, and I hid it behind a laugh. I said he was working hard to make me look bad. He said he was working to be accurate. I said accuracy is cold. He said accuracy is kind later. I asked later for what? He said order. I changed tactics and asked him to lunch. He said he had plans. I asked what plans. He said he had things to organize. I asked if he wanted to fix us or document us. He said both. I told him I loved him, and that fear was making him cruel. He said love without trust felt like fog. I said he was punishing me to win points with his mother. He said his mother was not in the room. I said she was in his head. He did not reply. He put on his earphones again and typed. I waited for him in the parking garage when he finished. The air was cool and smelled like dust. He opened the trunk to place his bag inside. In the dim light, I saw 3 binders side by side. Home, auto, bank. Each had neat tabs. I said he was staging a prop wall like a play. He said he liked labels. I asked if he was listing my mistakes. He said he was listing events. I said events are stories. He said stories can be compared. I stepped closer and called him stubborn. I said, men who love their wives do not hide behind binders. He said men who love their wives do not need to fight in garages. I asked if he was leaving me. He said he was not leaving right now. He said he was setting lines so we could talk without damage. I told him to say he forgave me. He said forgiveness comes with truth. I said the truth was that I slept in a bed and nothing happened. He said my words kept moving. I said he should stop acting like a lawyer. He said he was not acting like anything. He said he would handle it properly. The word properly hit the concrete and echoed. We went up in the elevator without touching. That night he worked in the small office and I paced in the hall. I looked at his phone when he set it down to drink water. It pulsed with a ghost entry. Downtown 9:20 a.m., then vanished. I took a breath and told myself it was a dentist or a bank errand. On his desk, the same black notebook sat under the lamp. I saw a tiny number at the corner of the page, maybe a date, maybe nothing. I told myself to stop seeing clues. I told myself to fight with charm. At dawn, I walked the beach promenade to clear my head. The air was salt and light. Adrian jogged toward me and slowed. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine and that things blow over. He said truth helps. I said truth is that we just slept and were adults about safety. He nodded but looked away, like he was shrinking from the word we. A cyclist rolled past. I heard a camera shutter sound from somewhere, small and clean. I told myself it was a tourist, not a receipt. Adrian said I should talk to Martin without an audience. I said I had already tried, and that he wanted notes. Adrian said notes were better than shouting. I did not like that answer. When I returned home, Nora had sent one line asking me to stop posting and start listening. I wrote back that people were turning on me. She replied with a heart and nothing else. Diana sent Martin a message that lit his screen and dimmed again. I felt excluded inside my own house. I told myself I had to act before the story set like concrete. In the afternoon, I walked with Martin to the garage again so he could get a jacket from the car. I said we should fix this tonight. He said we should fix it carefully. I asked what that meant. He said he did not need to explain every step. I said secrets poison love. He said structure protects people. I said I hate structure. He said he would handle it properly. He pressed the trunk closed with a quiet thud. The sound felt final. I dressed for a client pitch at noon in the office tower downtown. I chose a strong color and a bright lip. I wanted to look like a win. The lobby was busy with lunch traffic, shoes clicking on stone, voices smooth and low. Jasper, the co-worker I had seen at dinner, stood near the turnstiles talking to a colleague. He noticed me and gave a small nod. I held my tote like a shield and told myself I owned the room. I saw Martin near the security desk. He wore a simple shirt and clean jacket. He did not look angry. He looked composed, like he had put every sock in the right drawer. My chest tightened, but my face stayed wide. I told myself he was here to support me before the pitch. I walked toward him, ready to make it a scene I could steer. He looked to his left, then back to me, then stepped aside. A woman with a clipboard approached and asked my name. Her voice was professional, not sharp. I said yes and asked if there was a delivery. She said she had documents for me and confirmed my full name. I said this was a mistake. She said service would be complete when I accepted or when she placed them near me after confirming identity. I laughed lightly and said someone was pulling a prank. She said it was official. She held the envelope. It was heavy and plain. Jasper stopped talking. People nearby became quieter. The elevator bell chimed and then chimed again. I looked at Martin for help. He did not move toward me. He kept his hands at his sides. He did not smirk. He did not gloat. He looked steady and tired. I said there was no reason for this. He did not answer. The woman repeated my name. I said yes and tried to wave it away. She placed the envelope in my hand. She said service was complete. I felt the weight of paper like a small rock. I said we could talk about this later, in private. The woman stepped away. Security watched without interest. Martin nodded once to Jasper and walked toward the revolving door. He passed me without touching my arm. I said he should speak to me. He said, in a tone almost gentle, that the documents explained the next steps and that temporary orders were included for calm. He said there was a schedule for access to the apartment and for shared items. He said he would not argue here. I looked down and saw the first page name the type of action. The words were clear. It was a divorce petition with temporary orders about possession and finances and a notice for a starters conference. My fingers left small pressure marks on the edge. I said this was too fast. He said the timeline came from the last few months, not today. I said he was ruining my pitch. He said work can be rescheduled. He said dignity needed clarity now. Ria texted as I stood there. She said we would postpone and check in later. Nora sent a string of question marks and then deleted them. Diana sent nothing. The lobby felt like a stage I had not rehearsed. I tried to step toward Martin to plead, but the turnstile stood between us. He waited for Jasper, who joined him with a quiet face. They traded a few words I could not hear. They walked toward the plaza doors. A man I did not know asked if I was okay. I said I was fine and that it was a misunderstanding. My voice sounded thin. The elevator bell chimed again. A group filed out and slowed as they passed, eyes quick and then away. I held the envelope tighter. I wanted to turn it into a prop and make a speech, but I could feel the room resisting it. The marble, the light, the hum of air, it all told me to stop. I called after Martin that I wanted to talk tonight. He turned enough to hear, then said there were instructions inside and that I could read first. He said this was not revenge. He said this was order. He said I could contact him through the channels listed for now. The words channels listed made the world tilt. He pushed the glass door and sunlight washed over him. He did not look back. The process server checked something on her clipboard and walked away. The security guard asked if I needed a seat. I said no. My tote slipped and hit my knee. Papers shifted inside the envelope, a clean slide of thick sheets. My throat felt dry. I told myself to stand still. I told myself to breathe. I told myself I could still turn this around with charm and timing. The elevator bell chimed once more. The sound was bright and final. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.